Alright everyone, welcome to Deep Dives with Dogs. Today we're going to talk about land purchases made by the United States and kind of their importance. This is more of focused a little bit on the Louisiana purchase, which you could argue probably the best purchase we ever made in terms of land. Not to say that the others weren't also important, but Louisiana purchase gives a lot of the U.S. a lot of its power. It really does. Um, but the U.S. purchases more than just the Louisiana territory. Um, it also purchases a bunch of other places. Some places from Mexico, um, places from Russia. So you get kind of a lot of exchanging dollars for land as part of the whole manifest destiny kind of thing. But the Louisiana purchase, it's hard to say now if Alaska or Louisiana was a better, like the Louisiana purchase was a better. I would say probably the Louisiana purchase. Alaska is very important for things like oil and gold and things like that. That is important stuff. But you could say the industry, farmland, shipping, travel, all that stuff that is produced by the Mississippi River and a lot of land purchased within the Mississippi territory or the Louisiana territory. I'm saying Mississippi territory, but the Louisiana territory. Definitely a little bit more useful, especially for the starting of the nation, for sure. Um, but the Louisiana territory, they spent about $15 million, which is about 3% of the GDP of the time of the United States. So quite a bit of money, realistically. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, 15 million, but you really got to think about it like this: the GDP really wasn't that high, and money was worth a little bit more. Um, but the amount of money today that they would have spent, and this kind of gives an insight of really, okay, maybe they didn't spend all that much, but they did. but, but the amount of money they spent back then was about 340 to about 415 million dollars today. Now, in terms of gold, which is what they used to buy it, uh, a lot more money that they spent. But that's just because gold prices, and that's a whole other thing. That's not necessarily the actual price of that they would have paid. But um, yeah, that's a lot of money. I mean, but think about it now. You've got companies that are worth way, 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 way more than that. And so it's like, realistically, if you think about it like that, companies could have bought that amount of land. Nowadays, that'd just be unrealistic because the price that you would have to spend today to get the Louisiana territory is about 1.6 to 6.3 trillion dollars. That is money with a T, not with, it's bigger than even the B. That is a lot of money. A lot of money. Um, and like, you just, we can't even imagine that. Like, that's whole country's GDPs. Like top performing countries' GDPs. Like, it's a crazy amount of money, man. It really is. And the U.S. never really spent a lot for a lot of the land they acquired, but still, like, realistically, like if we thought about it today, like they would have had to spend we would have had to spend so much more money on some of this land to even ever acquire it. Because you had the purchases from uh, Mexico, which it's a purchase in name only. We did pay for it, but it was after a war that Mexico lost, and then it's like, hey, we'll give you the money for the land. So like, it's technically a purchase of land. That is what happened, but it is more of like a consolation prize, you could say, for a war that they lost, and the land that I mean, people knew it was valuable. So yeah, definitely a loss for Mexico, for sure. Um, and that land would be worth quite a bit today too. I don't know the exact numbers, but I mean, you could just think about the land that we would have acquired: California, we would have acquired New Mexico, Arizona, those territories, Nevada. Uh, there's a lot of land, and a lot of that land is valuable today. Um, parts of Texas, things like that. You just take all those GDPs and kind of smush them together and like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that really gives you an idea. Um, and then obviously another purchase was Alaska. I purchased that from the Russian Empire. Uh, it's kind of a similar sale as Louisiana Purchase with Napoleon. And funnily enough, it's not really that much longer after either. Um, but Alaska, the Russians kind of thought it was useless. They kind of did everything they wanted to do to it, which is more oil industry, fishing, things like that. And they were like, this place is kind of not worth it. They wanted to get rid of it, then make some capital, make some money. So they think, okay, who can we give it to? And they didn't want to give it to the United Kingdom or Great Britain, really. They didn't want to give it to Great Britain because they figured, they're kind of our rival. We don't really want to make them more powerful. And there weren't many nations that really could have purchased it at the time, so they looked at us and said, hey, we could give it to you. You know, we spend this much. And actually, at the time it was purchased, it was considered kind of a failure. It was kind of a colossal failure of a purchase because the land was seen as pretty useless. That's how it is. It was seen as a giant ice rock. And the Secretary of State at the time that oversaw the purchase, William Seward, he was seen kind of as a joke. But not really long after it was purchased, people would find gold in them there hills. And yeah, Alaska would go from being Seward's folly to, wow, Seward made a really good purchase here. Just saying. And then obviously nowadays, oil as well. Oil is also very big in Alaska, so you can really say they found some uh, gold up in them there hills, both regular and the black gold as well. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you have any ways I can improve these videos, leave a comment down below. It really helps out. And as always, subscribe. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you.